Welcome back to In Pursuit 360. And on this episode, we're going to ask that question, are they really hiring? So I know a lot of you out there are putting in for these law enforcement agencies and you don't hear from them, or you get turned down and you put in again and you put in again and you put in again. It's like, man, are they hiring or not? They're definitely hiring. Okay, so we're going to talk about, are they really hiring, and why it may seem like they're not really hiring anybody. But we're going to get into that right now. Okay, here we go. So, tonight, or today, or whatever morning, whenever you're watching this, on In Pursuit 360, we're going to be talking about, are they really hiring? We're going to answer that perception question, right? So, if you're listening to things that are going on in the world and things like that, they talk about, we're short on law enforcement officers. Law enforcement officers in certain cities are retiring like by the dozens, right? There's a shortage of law enforcement officers, and you're like going, well, I keep applying all the time and I don't get picked up. What is going on? Well, think about it like this. Yes, there is a shortage of law enforcement officers across the country. So even in like my old department, right, Stafford, Virginia, they're shorthanded. A lot of agencies, almost all agencies, are shorthanded. However, the question you have to ask yourself is, there are a lot of them, right? So, okay, they're shorthanded, so they need people, right? Their standards actually haven't changed. If anything, they've gone up what they're looking for. So, for anyone to think, I'm going into this interview and I am the absolute best candidate that there is on the face of this planet, period, you're fooling yourself. As the old golden rule goes, there's always somebody better than you out there somewhere, right? So it kind of depends who's applying at what time and how many people are they hiring. You can have a department that's down 20 officers or 20 deputies or whatever. Take your pick. 20. They're down 20. But in the academy that's coming up, if they don't run their own academy, they may only have 5 slots in that academy school coming up. And then they may only have 3 in the academy after that. And then they may get 6 in the academy after that. And that's a year and a half, right? That's a year and a half of time where even though they're 20 short, they're only going to be able to hire, and I can't do the math right off the top of my head, let's say it was about 15. They're 20 short, but in a year and a half, they can only hire 15 because there are only 15 academy slots. So how do you ever catch up? Well, within that year and a half, guess what's happening? You get 1 or 2 guys that are going to neighboring agencies or federal agencies or whatever because they're going to make more money, or because there's less work, or because there's a better chance of advancement. There are all kinds of reasons why people move around, right? So that number, they're always looking, but they're one of the things that you have to take into consideration is, how many academy slots do they have? If they run their own academy, they may top their academy off, depending on the size of the department, 25, 30 people, maybe 50. Some of these state agencies run like 50-person academies. But what if they're 70 people short? You're going up against 300 people that have put in for that same 50 positions for that academy. And I mean, really, out of 200-300 people, I mean, do you think that there might be some people that might do a little bit better than you in the physical agility? They might do a little bit better in the interview, but not if you watch the videos on In Pursuit 360, right? I'm here to help you. All right. So, there's always somebody better is the mentality you need to have. So when you're going into these things, you need to go in there with that warrior mindset. You need to go in there and say, you know what? This one's mine. I am going to master this. I am going to make sure to concentrate on these interviews. I'm going to get these interview questions down. I am going to work out on a regular basis. I'm going to be prepared for that physical agility test. Hey, polygraph is a polygraph, right? So back to the original concept here. Are they really hiring? Yes, they're really hiring. I promise you, they're shorthanded. They need you. You just have to make it through. So some of these smaller departments, I mean, you look at like one of the best examples I can come up with, I had a buddy of mine that came down from New York. It was a buddy after he came down from New York. And he joined the Stafford Sheriff's Office. And he told me he tried for years to get on with these smaller, like, township departments in New York. And it's nearly impossible. You got 600 people putting in for 3 jobs, right? One township or one jurisdiction is hiring 3 officers, and you got like 800 people putting in for it. He said it was just insane. He says you couldn't get anywhere unless you knew somebody. That old thing, if you know somebody, you might be okay. So he tried and tried and tried, and finally he decided, you know what, I just need to be able to open up my possibilities. And he got hired. Stafford County, Virginia, right? Halfway between DC and Richmond. Who would have ever thought that a guy from upstate New York, I think he was upstate. Anyway, so if I get that wrong, Jim, I apologize. So anyway, he comes down into Virginia, gets hired with the sheriff's office, and he has a great career. What are you willing to do? Do you have to stay in your town? So are they really hiring? So we talked about spots in the academy. There are people that are going to just do better than you. I mean, you can't think you are the top cheese in the entire world. There are always people better, right? So what can you do to make yourself better than they are? Concentrate on those things. Practice your interview skills. Get with a buddy and write out some questions maybe that I've covered here in these videos. Write out the questions and have your buddy be the interviewer. Get your buddy and a couple of other people to sit as a panel and ask you the questions and practice answering them and ask them for honest feedback. It doesn't do any good if they just bullshit you and you sit there and go, "Oh, you are wonderful, you'll do great," and meanwhile you suck because you're saying and all that all the time. So get some honest feedback, get some practice in. Again, the physical fitness, you got to take that physical fitness test, you got to take the polygraph. Be honest. Hey, I was a pothead at age 13. And when I went for my interview with the sheriff's office, I flat out told them, they ask you, have you ever used any kind of illegal drug, marijuana, cocaine, da-da-da-da-da. I used marijuana for about a year. 13 to 14 years old, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Man, I was a little pothead, skipped school, smoked dope all the time. And they were like, okay. They're okay with, but be honest, right? So in that polygraph, they're going to ask you these questions, and then they're going to ask them again when you're hooked up to the machine, and it's all in how your body reacts, right? So just be honest with them. Tell them, you smoked weed, you smoked weed. No big deal. As long as you didn't smoke weed yesterday, or like 2 weeks ago, or maybe even a year ago, you'll be fine. All right? Just be honest with everything. So you got to make yourself better. You got to make yourself better than the competition, okay? Are they hiring? Yes, they're hiring. Yes, they're desperate for people. They may be limited in slots for the academy. There may be other people that may be just a little more qualified than you. But that's okay. So how else can you make yourself stand out? And their standards, believe it or not, even though they're shorthanded and they've been shorthanded for a long time, the standards are going up. Why are the standards going up? I mean, if they're so desperate for people, why aren't the standards going down? Well, look at the news. I mean, look at what happened, George Floyd. I mean, you want to lower your standards? Seriously? No, you want to up your standards. You always want the top people. So when you do get selected, understand that they are saying that you are the cream of the crop of the people that applied. So they're upping their standards. It's harder to get a law enforcement job because they want the best, right? And there are a lot of the best out there, and you're one of them. You just have to wait your turn. You have to get there. You have to be willing to open your horizons. Where else can I go? What else can I do? I've talked about it before. Is the agency that you're applying for, your dream agency, they may have 900 applications for 2 positions. Do they have an auxiliary program or a volunteer program? If they do, that could be your foot in the door. How many of their hires come from their auxiliary or volunteer program? Some older folks get into the auxiliary or volunteer program just because they want something to do. They're former law enforcement, they're retired, whatever, and they go do it just for something to do. The younger guys get into it because it's a foot in the door. you get your training, you get your experience, you get your ride-alongs, you get all this stuff so that when the next position comes open, you can say, hey, I'm already trained, I've already got experience, I've been through part of the FTO program. You know, I've been with this department now for 2 years as a volunteer, you know, working all these ride-alongs. I've been on ride-alongs. I've been to burglaries. I've been to, you know, I've worked crime scenes. I've done all this stuff. But it's voluntary. You're not going to get paid. Are you willing to do what it takes to get this job? The agencies are hiring. I promise you. They are shorthanded. They need you. I need you. Society, your community need you. You just have to stick with it. You've got to stick with it. I promise you they're looking for people. Nothing is wrong with reaching out to one of the officers in the department. Do you know somebody? Do you not know somebody? Walk in and ask to speak to a supervisor. Hey, I really want to get into this career field. What can you tell me? What can you suggest? What do I need to look at? What can I do better? You know, and just ask them. They'll tell you. They'll tell you what the hiring process is. Hey, what is the hiring process for your department? Oh, it's this, that, and this, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. Oh, I never heard of the Illinois Agility Run. What exactly is that for the physical fitness test, right? Illinois Agility Run, right? It's kind of like a shuttle run. It's 30 feet, up, back, in and out of 4 cones, back through 4 cones, up and back, and you start in a prone position. That's the Illinois Agility. Ask them, well, what exactly is that? What exactly is in your physical agility? Can you give me some samples of the written test? What are some questions that I might encounter? Google it. What's in the police written test? Anyway, okay, so they're hiring. They're looking for you. They need you. But you got to do the extra work. You've got to find out what it is in the agency or agencies that you're looking at. What's the secret? What is it that is keeping them from bringing you on board based off your initial application? Are you missing practical experience? Are they actually looking for currently certified law enforcement officers because they can't wait to get you on the street? That's another problem. If they're really that short-handed and they get people that are applying that are already certified, remember I told you, some people start in lower, smaller departments, right? And then when they get the chance, they bump up. And then they bump up again. And then they bump up again. Well, if you're applying for a department that's up here, and you've got all these guys that have put in down here and done their time, and they're working on getting themselves up to where they want to be, you're going to get bumped because they're already certified. They already have experience on the street. They've already been on calls. They've written reports. They've answered the radio. They've driven code. They've chased people. They've done all this already, and you haven't, right? So you get these people that are bumping. Well, that can stop you. Where are you willing to start? Where are you willing to start? So there you go. Are these departments or agencies really hiring? Yes, they are. They are definitely hiring. They need you. Question is, do they need you now or do they need you tomorrow? Right? Do I need to go ahead and shoot for NYPD? Or do I need to go ahead and find a small little township on the outskirts of New York, somewhere upstate, up by the border of whatever, and start there and then work my way into NYPD? It's the same story no matter where you go in the United States. Big city, little town, you know, each town area has its own big department. So we had the city of Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania County, Stafford County. So smallest, Fredericksburg City. Spotsylvania County, probably about equal to Fredericksburg, then Stafford, right? Well, if you wanted to make more money and play with a few more toys, you went to Prince William County. If you really wanted to get into it, you went to Fairfax County. And then after that, you went to Arlington County. Oh my goodness, Arlington! They got all the money, they got all the toys, they got everything. They also require at least a 2-year degree. Stafford, Spotsylvania, Fredericksburg, at the time Prince William, did not require those degrees. But Arlington did. But Arlington paid the most money. So where do you think everybody started at? They started in Fredericksburg, Stafford, Spotsylvania, Prince William. They got their 2-year degree, and as soon as they did, where did they go? They went to Fairfax and Arlington. That's just the way it goes. That's the way that the industry works, right? Hang in there. Go for it. But remember, you got your bar set here. You may need to come in here and then work your way up just like everybody else does. You may find out you like it here. This may be cool for you. You may go, hey, you know what? I like it here. I'm staying for a while. And that's awesome. You just gain more experience. People always go, oh, why don't you go to Prince William County? Why don't you go to Fairfax? Why don't you go to... Those departments were so big when I started in 1993 that their road guys just worked the road. That's all they did. If there was a crime, a burglary, or whatever, detectives came out, they took over the case, they worked it. Stafford was still small enough, the deputies that worked the street were working the burglaries and the rape cases, some of them. And, you know, if we had leads, we followed up on all those cases. I've done tire impression casts. I've done foot castings. We actually caught a guy that robbed a Domino's guy because we took a foot casting of a boot and then found the guy later that had the boot, sent it off to the lab and matched it up. I worked that myself. Detectives didn't pick that up. I can guarantee you there are people that started off brand new in Fairfax County, brand new in Prince William, brand new in Arlington, that never worked that kind of a case all the way through, processing the evidence, doing the fingerprinting, doing the casts, sending the lab request off, doing all that stuff. Why? Because they had detectives and special divisions that did all that stuff. So there are advantages to going in down here. You gain a lot of experience, right? So that when you get up here to where you really want to be, they may have all those specialty units, but man, you're gonna be way above. You're gonna be able to tell them, no, you're not. Don't do that. You need to come over here and start with this. So anyway, all right. So that's it. Thanks a lot for tuning in again to In Pursuit 360. Hit the subscribe button down below here somewhere. Bell notification tell you when the next video is coming out, like it's going to come out here in about the next 15-20 minutes, depending on upload speed, right? So hit the bell notification. Thumbs up. I really appreciate the thumbs up. Really helps with the algorithm. You know, we're growing. We're almost at 1,500 subscribers, which is awesome. I really appreciate each and every single one of you. And hey, like I always say, if you got to hit the thumb down, hit the thumb down. Please tell me why. Tell me what I can do better. You got some interview questions that I haven't covered yet? Share those, and we can share them with everybody else. We'll help everybody. Okay? So, in the meanwhile, the most important thing that you can do while you're in pursuit of your dream is be safe out there.